Oh, genius. Hello, gorgeous. I'm so glad we get to spend time together as part of Heart to Heart with Dr. Dawn. This is wonderful. I'm so glad to see you and spend time with you. I love doing that. I really do. And so I want to read to you today about heroes and role models. People that we can look up to and people who we can think about. Can you think of some people that you really like? And maybe in certain ways, you want to be like them. Uh-huh. Aw. Well, I sure can. Someone is always watching your life. They're always looking to see what you're doing and to learn from you. If you have younger siblings, brothers and sisters and siblings, they're probably looking up to you to find out how to do things. You can teach them things. You can help them do things. You can do things that they're not able to do for themselves, maybe. It's a wonderful thing to be a role model, to walk in such a way that other people can watch your life and learn from it. It's a good thing. And so, who can help us along our journey? Our parents, our grandparents, our great role models. We can pick things that we like about them and learn those things and look up to them for those things. Our faith leaders, our teachers, definitely. Oh my goodness, our teachers who help us every day to learn things, community helpers. Many of our community helpers can be role models too. And I'm not saying that you should spend all of your time trying to be like someone else because you are unique and special, just like you are. But my granddaddy used to say in this world, there's two ways to learn. You can make mistakes or you can have mentors. And a mentor is someone who teaches you how to do something, who helps you to learn something. And because you learned it from them, you might not make so many mistakes as if you just tried to figure out yourself. Like, think about this. What if you tried to teach yourself how to tie your shoes? You could come up with all kinds of ways to do it. But if someone teaches you how to tie your shoes, oh, now it's faster and it's easier because someone helped you. Think about the people who helped you learn things. What did you like most about them? The people who helped me learn things, I'll tell you, I liked it when they were kind to me, when they didn't make me feel like, should have known that already, or something was wrong because I couldn't do it the first time, or the people who let me know that they would love me just as much, whether I ever learned to do this well or not. If I wasn't good at it, that wouldn't change how they felt about me. That wouldn't change their feelings about me. Those are the people I like to learn from. How about you? People who are patient, maybe? People who are understanding or compassionate and kind, people who spend time. I always like people who have time for me. We're all so busy in this world, and when someone has time to sit and listen or to help you learn something, that's a great person to look up to. People who do the right thing, even when the right thing isn't happening to them, right? Sometimes it's really hard to do the right thing. And I always admire people who do, even when maybe the wrong thing would be easier or better for them, but they do the right thing anyway. Oh, I've got a role model to read about right now. And I'm going to read about this role model, and then I'm going to ask you to find some books or videos about some people that you can look up to. Inventors, maybe, or people who helped others. And spend some time learning about the lives of those people who try to make the world better for others. We can learn a lot from that. Wilma's Way Home: The Life of Wilma Mankiller by Doreen Rappaport and illustrated by Linda Cook. My own story has meaning only as long as it is part of the overall story of my people. For above all else, I am a Cherokee woman. Wilma's Way Home The life of Wilma Mankiller. Wilma Mankiller is very important because she was the very first female chief of the Cherokee Nation in Oklahoma. Full-time jobs for Cherokee people were scarce in rural Oklahoma. Wilma's family cut and peeled wood for railroad ties. They picked beans and grew strawberries. Wilma hauled water from the spring that her family drank from and used to cool fresh milk and butter. But no matter how hard they worked, they couldn't earn enough money for their family of 11. Few homes in rural Oklahoma had plumbing or electricity. Wilma's mother cooked on a wood-burning stove that also heated the house her father built. Like rural families everywhere who could not find work, the man killers raised vegetables and hunted and fished to put food on the table. It was a hard life. We were really poor. Dirt poor is how they say in Oklahoma. Wilma's mother, Irene, was of Dutch Irish descent. Her parents disapproved of Charlie Mankiller because he was older and native. But Wilma's parents loved each other so much they got married anyway. Wilma's mother taught her the names of the trees and flowers. Wilma spent many days outdoors, especially when the dogwood trees were in bloom. My father must have known somehow that I would love flowers because the Cherokee name he gave me, Atsuluzgi, means flower. Wilma spent her nights reading books and playing Chinese checkers carved by her father. He was a great reader and storyteller and passed his love of both to his children. The warmth and love in our family made up for the lack of material things. Wilma's family was rich in love and in community. Cherokee people survived through Galugi, the philosophy of helping one another. Families who raised chickens swapped eggs for milk. People traded homegrown vegetables for store-bought goods. We are all interdependent. Do things for others rather than just for yourself. At get-togethers, the grown-ups talked and played cards. The children played hide and seek and kick the can. They caught fireflies and put them in jars and watched them flash on and off, then let them go. At the Gatayo, the ceremonial stomp dance grounds, Wilma felt part of the ancient songs and dances. We've talked about community, people working together with the people around them, and it looks like that's exactly what they did. When Wilma was almost 11, the federal government created a new policy to relocate Indians from their land to cities, promising good jobs and better housing. Wilma's father did not want to move. He remembered all the times the federal government forced Native people off their homelands. In 1838, government soldiers forced Cherokee men and women and children to leave their homelands in the Carolinas and Georgia. They were marched 1,000 miles west in the freezing winter and sweltering summer, and many were hurt along the way. More than 4,000 Cherokees died on this forced removal west, which Wilma's father referred to all Cherokees as they were brought on the trail. Most history books refer to this tragic event, as the Trail of Tears. Wilma's father saw relocation as one more way to separate Indians from their people and to destroy their culture. But he was finding it impossible to get work in Oklahoma. Perhaps city life would give his children a better future. Wilma did not want to leave her home. I cried for days, not unlike the children who had stumbled down the trail of tears. Life in San Francisco, California shocked Wilma. No more fragrant dogwood blooms, no more flowering trees or hills or green valleys, only buildings close together and some people sleeping in the streets. Instead of starlit skies and glaring neon lights, no more singing wrens, only blaring sirens and cart horns. One day I was here, and the next day I was trying to deal with the mysteries of television, indoor plumbing, neon lights, and elevators. There were no better jobs and no better housing. The family missed their friends and relatives. At school, when the teacher called the roll, Wilma's classmates laughed at her name, and she wished that she could disappear. But her parents told her to be proud of her name. The name was given to the family because in the early days they guarded village homes, and when enemies attacked, these warriors fought back. Wilma's classmates mocked her clothing and her Oklahoma accent. She tried to lose her accent, but couldn't. It was not that I was so much poorer than the others, but I was definitely from another culture. You see, Wilma? Yeah. Seeking community, the family went to the Indian Center in San Francisco. Her father worked to open a free health clinic for natives. The family met other native people who also longed to return to their homelands. All agreed this federal policy was a disaster. It robbed us of our sense of place, our vitality. Wilma hated city life and she kept running away to her maternal grandmother, who lived on a farm 81 miles away. Finally, her parents sent her to live there. The hard work and fresh air were so good. The year on the farm was exactly what I needed. Wilma married at 18, and within 2 years, she was the mother of two girls. It was in the 60s, an era of protests. African Americans marched for equality, Latino farm workers went on strike for better wages, and young and old demonstrated against wars. Women met in groups to talk about their lives, and Native people protested the taking of tribal lands. I began to have dreams about more freedom and independence. Wilma started college and she went back to the Indian Center and shared her life with other natives. Her husband was not pleased with her new interest in friends. Hugo expected me to step completely away from the Indian Center and from my birth family. Starting in November of 1969, hundreds of indigenous people took over Alcatraz Island. And Wilma got a job at the Oakland Indian Center, working with children. When she needed support or money for projects, she turned to Native people, and they always helped. She took her daughters to visit tribal communities in California. They ate the traditional foods, they attended the traditional dances, and listened to traditional stories. The militants, the wise elders, the keepers of the medicine, the storytellers were my best teachers. These are her role models. I felt like a newborn whose eyes have just been opened to the first light. Her path ahead came clear. All right. You know what she did? She went back home to Oklahoma. She went back home to Oklahoma. And when she did, she attended the sacred ceremonies and built a home on her ancestral land. She made new friends and reached out to old ones and began to work for the Cherokee Nation government. When the chief, Ross Swimmer, saw how hard she worked, he gave her more responsibility and she went back to finish college. I felt whole again for the first time since my childhood, she said. And she began to work for the people. She began to help people get water and get community and the things that they needed. She brought water to communities that didn't have it. And then Chief Swimmer asked Wilma to run with him in the 1984 election. Before the Europeans came, Cherokee women and men always shared political power, but European ways influenced the Cherokee and limited the political role of women. And now some Cherokee believed that other people would laugh if a woman was elected. Wilma received hate mail. Her car tires were slashed, and at first only a few people came to her rallies. Wilma visited people in the 7,000 square miles of the 14 counties of the Cherokee Nation. She answered their question. She told them what she believed in. Family and friends and Charlie Soap helped her campaign, and it was a tough race, but she won. In my household, no one ever said to me, "You can't do this because you're a woman or an Indian or you're poor." Of course, I would not have listened to them, even if they tried. And this is how Wilma Mankiller became the first female chief of the Cherokee Nation in the modern era. Most men on the tribal council did not support her, but Wilma forged ahead, creating programs to better the economic lives of her people. In 1985, Chief Swimmer left to work in Washington, and Wilma became principal chief. 2 years later, she ran on her own and became the first woman chief of the Cherokee Nation, the second largest native nation in the United States. The third time she ran, she was reelected in a landslide. That means a lot of people voted for her. Prior to my election, young Cherokee girls would never have thought that they might grow up to be chief. During Wilma's 10 years of leadership, the Cherokee Nation revived a tribal high school, built 4 health clinics, 2 daycare centers, and a Job Corps training center. New businesses, a cattle and poultry ranch, gift shops, and a motel were created, bringing pride to her people, along with millions of dollars to better their lives. Wilma's work brought world attention to the Cherokee Nation and to Wilma, and pride to all Native people. Women can help turn the world right side up. We bring a more collaborative approach to government. Who do you look up to? Who do you want to learn from? Find out more about those people. Read about them, watch videos about them and films about them. Talk with your family about them. Look for the people in your community helpers, your parents and grandparents, and older siblings, and teachers, and classmates, and friends who have qualities and things about them that you really like and admire. Let's be good role models too. Let's be people who help other people, and people can trust us and look up to us. It's a great thing to be a role model. It's an honor to be a hero. And I think you're both. Thank you for joining me for Heart to Heart with Dr. Dawn. I had so much fun spending time with you today.